I'm hoping it goes below the line. If I go below the line, I'm just going to get the same contract because I might hold it till the end of the day too. All right, let's see what happens. Dang, dude, and it start pumping on me. So I mean, I think I got it high enough to where I mean, the overall spot. It went below that line, right? It went below the like today's line. You know, you know where it shows the negative or positive percentage, right? So it went below that already. So now, like for today, it's down 12 cents, right? So it's probably just gonna teeter around that line for a little bit a while, right? And if it just hangs on to that without um, any signs of going back down, I mean up, then we should be golden. Thing is, it's already trying to go above that SMA again. So in the 1 minute, it's trying to rally above that SMA. Let's look at the 15 minute again. See if it has a downward sentiment still. I mean, so the what do you call it? So now it's not overbought anymore, right? Because of that dump. You know what I mean? And it's not oversold. So I'm just gonna keep going for the bearish sentiment. Keep on going down, and and it decides to all of a sudden within 15 minutes to go against me to go back up, right? Thing is now the estimate on the 15 minutes is a strong what you call resistance, and then you have your support right here at this 150 line, which is a previous like yesterday and stuff. You know what I mean? And so yeah, we're down 60. We were we're down. I mean $6, $7. All right, let's go back to the 1 minute and see how it's looking on the relative strength index. All right, it's not even overbought. So we lost the overbought situation. So whoever did that and dropped it, was it like a massive amount of people, you know what I mean, or just one person or one account? It had to be like one account, dude, straight up, or one or two accounts. Yeah. So if it starts curving here or reversing here, we will have a lower low, right? If we have our lower low, I mean a lower high, you know, will it converge here, right? So we have this wedge going on down this direction. So when you have like a wedge, and then you have like a bullish movement, you can probably decide that it's gonna start to reverse up, right? So like, what do you call this? Like a converging wedge towards a price line, but then you have something like this where it's like kind of upward movement ish, right? And most likely it's depending on the graph too, right? So let's say you have a strong upward movement going this direction from here, right, going up this way. I'll show you. And okay, so I'm not using any theories or anything like that, right? I'm just making a um, logical assessment, right? Yeah. So let's say you have in the bigger scope of things, right? You have a line going that way, and then now you have a line going here, right? Assuming this is going to be a higher, lower high, right? But it doesn't seem like it's going to do that because it's bumping up. Well, I mean, if it's doing that, then my theory technically is still going to be the same, right? But let's just say for the sake of saying that this, goes down and this becomes a lower high, right? And then you have a like kind of this pole to go down this way, all the way down to this price line, right? And what you would have is something that looks like this. Boom, right? Yeah, regardless of the fact, um, I am gonna hang on to my contract, right? And I do have it below 752, and the reason why I'm doing that is because, um, so regardless if this went above the thing or not, right? I mean, above the SMA, and it seems like it's pulling up all the way to like, 53. Um, it's still up Friday, and it seems like the 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 the, um, the line to beat is 753, right? So it's just going to test it all. Um, hopefully, time decay doesn't um, go against me. I need to stay below 752 and a half, right? So technically, it's like that line right there. Yeah, that line right there. So if this is a strong resistance, then then uh then we're gonna have issues. Yeah, but technically it needs to go all the way down to 752, right, and below that, because if it goes below that, then I'm good. So yeah, see how we got all the way up to there, and then we have a pullback right here, and the reason why is because that's where the overbought is. Yeah, well, as I was saying, right. So if you have this convergence right here, right, then because this has a strong pull up here, it'll essentially go up that way. So technically, it did exactly that. You see that? So you got this pull right here, and then you got this thing right below it, right? So logically, it makes sense, right? If this is going to converge from from where the height is, from there to there. So I was trying to get it to show you like an example from there to there, right? From here to here. Oh, okay, still give you that example. From there to there, right? So eventually, even if it goes all the way down here, it's going to break out going up, right? The only thing that's stopping it is the resistance uh, on the price lines. You know what I mean? Maybe even the volume profile line, because it just that's where like they're doing a lot of the sweeping. You know what I mean? So right now it's staying on the price line because that's where they're doing the sweeping. And the reason why I'm hanging on to my contract is because the price line is way too strong for it to go above that. And plus, on top of that, they have the day high, like right here, right, at the start of the day, at like, 53, 753. So, yeah, that's where we're having the issue of it not going higher than 753. So I'm just hanging on to 752 on the notion that, for one, yesterday we have our you know our thing went all the way up to like $10 in daily gains, right? And then today, it has a very smooth going up, right? But it's kind of like it's in a sweeping zone, right? And then the zone is there to create a situation where the market gets taken out, uh, so that it can reset for next week because all the contracts are expiring today. You know what I mean? So that's where that's what's going on, right? So the goal is to understand the market a little bit more, right? And and to understand what's going on in the market, so we can actually talk about, if we're drawing maps and patterns on the chart, it makes some sense, right, behind it. Because if you can't make sense behind it, then what's the point of drawing these maps? You know what I mean? It's like what's the point of drawing a map? And the map is supposed to guide you, right? If you have a map to help you, locate something, well, the map defines the reality of your geolocation, right? So let's say there's a donut store, right? If someone doesn't want to put a donut store as a marking on the map, right? Because let's say, well, donut stores aren't permanent, right? Because someone else can take it and turn it into a Chinese restaurant, right? Well, that can be true, but for a period of time there was a donut shop, right? And because there was a donut shop for a period of time, then we're always gonna have this donut, store for that period of time to be a really good indicator of what someone needs to do to follow a map instruction. You know what I mean? So that's the for that period of time, someone can actually do a delivery driving job. Whoa, right? Because they can always be like, hey, I can make a left turn on the donut shop. You know what I mean? That's why if you look at the app or what Google Maps will say, turn left at the tire store. You know what I mean? Like it will say that. You know what I mean? And that's because you know it's real time, right? See how this is um -15, right? So so I got it in the money, but it was in the money at a different time, right? So it went against me. That's why I'm seeing this red, right? So now, um, well, technically I'm in the contract, right? So I'm still in the money. That's why it's against me, right? So I need to go outside the money, which means um, I need to go. Right now I'm red, so I need to go all the way back down to zero, right? And then once it starts going green, that's when it goes out the money. You know what I mean? So this to me, this is not out the money. Even though I went to 53, I'm inside my zone where I'm losing money. You know what I mean? I want to be in the money to go out the money, right? This is how my contract works. Someone else's contract is going to work opposite, something like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, someone else's contract is going to do something different. You have to understand your contracts. You know what I mean? It's just like business. You have to understand your contracts. You know, if you can't understand your contracts, then you're not. You just can't get into it. That's why I try to tell people, right? Like, especially people that likes to, you know, bet, right? And what happens is when they bet, they just like to see the return, right? I won, right? And then after they won, they think, oh, they're the best gambler or whatever, right? And then they associate to some sort of skill or some sort of manifestation, right? But no, you didn't understand your contract with the booking agent. You know what I mean? Call it luck. But, did you know your contract situation? You know, because if you didn't, and then you went to it and you won, yeah, you got the luck, right? I mean, luck has a good play into it too, but um, now with with uh what you call it with um learning the chart and stuff and understanding what goes behind the scene, then when you do fall into the right position, right? I don't call it luck, right? So let's say my bet, um, right here in my contract, I did it because I I told you how I saw it, right? And then let's say it reflects here at 53, it went to 53, and then I had said, hey, 53 is today's high, and it will reject that, right? And after it reject that, it's gonna go back to that sentiment where, it's bearish again because I've been trying to say it was bearish the whole day, right? Then the contract I bought reflect what my thesis was. And because my thesis was what it was, then I made it's still a prediction, right? It's still a guess, but it was a more like, an educated guess, right? But the only thing wrong with the contract is time decay, right? So, and everything works in cycles anyway, right? You know what I mean? Like it'll crash and go up, it'll crash and go up, right? Unless it completely does the opposite of what it wants to do, right? So my time decay is it has to go down before at the end of the day. You know, that's how I know. That's how I know that I was right or wrong. You know, now if it doesn't go um, my way by the end of the day, right? Or it was close. I lost a couple bucks or whatever, right? Yeah. It just I didn't meet my contract. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna feel bad about it. It was just I made a bad choice. I made a bad decision. I made a bad calculation. You know what I mean? Like I was off by a few seconds, right? Would you call that luck? You know what I mean? No. You know, I took that risk. You know. Now when people take a risk on luck and they get mad, like why would you get mad? You took that risk. You guys think gonna see a return? You know what I mean? No one lied to you. Everything you do is a gamble. You know what I mean? If you're gonna trust the next person with your money, and there was no contract, what? You didn't have any contract made with the other person. You just assume whatever they said was the truth, right? Who are you gonna take it to? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, ain't no judge gonna listen to you. Oh, sir, ma'am, it was verbal. It was a verbal agreement. And they go to the other guy. Well, did you say this? Yeah, but it was under these conditions. They should know. I said it, but like they should know that I'm broke. You can get your money in the next lifetime, right? Yeah. But anyways, let me go move my car and put this thing on pause real quick, guys. But if I don't see you guys back, thanks for joining my live today on Daily Trades by Rin. Today is 7/10/2026. Have a good day, y'all. Peace.